To regain the attention of someone avoidant, the first step is to detach yourself emotionally. This doesn't mean you stop caring or feeling altogether. It means liberating yourself from the patterns of dependency that often push avoidant individuals further away. Emotional detachment is not a lack of emotion. It's a mastery of your emotions. A deliberate choice to reclaim your energy and focus. People with avoidant tendencies often feel overwhelmed by emotional intensity, especially when they perceive someone as overly reliant on them for happiness or validation. They subconsciously retreat because they equate emotional closeness with the potential loss of their independence. When you detach emotionally, you break this cycle by showing them, and more importantly yourself, that your worth and peace of mind are not tied to their responses or behaviors. Detachment begins internally. It's a mindset shift where you stop seeking reassurance or confirmation from their actions. You no longer chase their approval or wait for their validation to feel good about yourself. Instead, you anchor yourself in your own sense of worth. This can be a challenging process because the human instinct is often to fixate on the person who pulls away, hoping that by doing more, saying more, or being more present, they'll notice and come closer. But this approach is counterproductive. The harder you push, the more they pull away. Emotional detachment disrupts this dynamic. By stepping back, you create space. Not just physical space, but emotional and energetic space. It allows them to reconsider their position and feel your absence. To detach emotionally, you must start by examining the way you respond to their behavior. If their lack of communication, attention, or consistency sends you into a spiral of anxiety, it's a sign that you're overly invested in their reactions. This level of emotional investment can become draining for both parties. Instead of reacting impulsively to their distance, pause and reflect. Ask yourself why their actions hold so much power over your emotional state. What is it about their approval or attention that feels so essential to your happiness? When you detach, you no longer give them that control. Their behavior stops dictating your mood, and you become the master of your own emotional landscape. Another important element of detachment is redirecting your energy. When someone with avoidant tendencies distances themselves, it's easy to fall into the trap of obsessing over them, what they're doing, why they're not responding, whether they're thinking about you. But this obsession drains your energy and makes you feel powerless. The way out is to channel that energy elsewhere, toward your own goals, passions, and well-being. The moment you stop focusing so intensely on them and start prioritizing yourself, something shifts. They notice the change in energy, even if they don't consciously understand it. Suddenly, you're no longer chasing, pleading, or trying to force a connection. Instead, you're building a life that fulfills you, whether they're part of it or not. This creates a magnetic pull that's hard to resist because it's rooted in authenticity and self-respect. Detachment also involves a deep level of self-awareness. You must become conscious of your patterns and triggers, especially if you have a history of overinvesting in relationships. Recognize when you're giving too much, expecting too much, or allowing their actions to dictate your self-worth. When you detach, you're not ignoring or suppressing your feelings. You're simply choosing not to let those feelings control you. This doesn't mean you won't miss them or care about them. It means you trust yourself enough to know that you'll be okay with or without their presence. This kind of inner strength is incredibly attractive to an avoidant person because it removes the pressure they often feel in relationships. Instead of viewing you as someone who demands their time or energy, they begin to see you as someone who enhances their life without overwhelming it. In practical terms, emotional detachment might look like giving them space without constantly checking in. It might mean resisting the urge to double text when they don't respond, or refraining from asking why they're being distant. It's about finding comfort in the silence, trusting that your value isn't diminished by their temporary withdrawal. This doesn't mean you're playing games or being manipulated. It means you're prioritizing your peace and letting the relationship breathe. Avoidants often need this space to process their emotions and reconcile their feelings. When you allow them that space without pressuring them for answers, they're more likely to come back on their own terms. Detachment is also about releasing expectations. When you're emotionally attached, you often have a mental script of how things should go, how they should act, how they should respond, how they should show up for you. When they don't meet these expectations, it leads to disappointment, frustration, or resentment. Emotional detachment frees you from this cycle. You stop expecting them to fulfill roles or responsibilities they may not be ready for. Instead, you accept them as they are, flaws and all, without compromising your own boundaries. This acceptance doesn't mean you settle for less. It means you're no longer trying to control or change them. And paradoxically, this often inspires them to change on their own, because they no longer feel the weight of your expectations. Shifting your energy to self-improvement is one of the most transformative steps you can take when dealing with someone who has avoidant tendencies. It's not about pretending you don't care or playing games. It's about genuinely redirecting your focus inward to create a life so fulfilling that their presence or absence becomes secondary to your happiness. When you focus on self-improvement, you elevate yourself in ways that not only boost your confidence, but also naturally draw others toward you. This is because there is something undeniably magnetic about a person who is dedicated to their own growth and fulfillment. Someone who radiates purpose and ambition without depending on external validation. The first step in this shift is identifying areas in your life that you've neglected while fixating on the avoidant person. Often when we pour all our emotional energy into a relationship, we lose sight of our own passions, goals, and potential. This creates an imbalance that not only stifles your personal growth, but also makes you appear overly dependent to the other person. By reclaiming that energy and investing it back into yourself, you regain a sense of control and independence. This change isn't just about doing more, it's about becoming more. It's about discovering the version of yourself that feels alive, confident, and whole, regardless of who is or isn't in your life. Self-improvement can take many forms, but it starts with setting clear intentions for your growth. Ask yourself, what have you always wanted to do or achieve but kept putting off? Maybe it's learning a new skill, pursuing a long-term goal, or improving your health and fitness. These aren't just distractions, they're investments in yourself. When you begin working toward these goals, you not only enhance your life, but also create a powerful shift in your energy. This shift is noticeable to those around you, including the avoidant person, who will likely sense that your focus is no longer entirely on them. One of the most profound aspects of self-improvement is how it changes your mindset. When you commit to growth, you start to view challenges, including relationship struggles, as opportunities to strengthen yourself. Instead of feeling powerless over someone else's actions, you realize you have the ability to shape your own reality. This shift in perspective is empowering, and it frees you from the need to control or fix the other person. It's no longer about trying to make them stay or convincing them to care. It's about creating a life so fulfilling that their presence becomes a choice rather than a necessity. This change in mindset not only liberates you, but also makes you more attractive to the avoidant person, who will sense your newfound confidence and independence. Another crucial part of self-improvement is physical and emotional well-being. Taking care of your body through exercise, healthy eating, and rest doesn't just improve your appearance, it boosts your mood and energy levels, making you feel more vibrant and alive. When you feel good about yourself, it shows in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, and the way you interact with others. This kind of confidence is magnetic, and it often draws people in without you needing to do anything else. Emotional well-being is equally important. Practices like mindfulness, meditation, or journaling can help you process your feelings, reduce stress, and gain clarity about what truly matters to you. As you focus on self-improvement, you'll notice that your standards naturally rise. When you're working hard to become the best version of yourself, you start to expect more from the people and situations in your life. You no longer settle for one-sided relationships or behavior that drains your energy. This doesn't mean you become cold or distant. It means you value yourself enough to seek connections that align with your growth and happiness. This self-respect is incredibly attractive even to avoidant individuals who often struggle with their own insecurities. When they see you thriving and setting high standards, it challenges them to rise to your level. Another key element of self-improvement is expanding your social circle and pursuing new experiences. Avoidants often retreat because they feel overwhelmed by the intensity of a one-on-one connection. By diversifying your life and connecting with others, you create a more balanced dynamic. Attend events, join groups, or take up hobbies that allow you to meet new people and expand your horizons. Not only does this enrich your life, but it also sends a clear message. Your world is not defined by the avoidant person's actions or presence. This doesn't mean you're trying to make them jealous. It means you're building a life that's fulfilling and meaningful on its own. Finally, self-improvement is about embracing the journey rather than focusing solely on the outcome. Growth is a lifelong process, and the more you invest in yourself, the more you'll discover about your potential and resilience. This journey of self-discovery is deeply rewarding, and it shifts your focus away from external validation. Instead of worrying about what the avoidant person thinks or does, you'll find yourself immersed in your own progress and achievements. This kind of focus not only empowers you, but also creates an aura of independence and self-assurance that is undeniably attractive. Creating boundaries and maintaining them is one of the most profound ways to shift the dynamics of a relationship with an avoidant person. Boundaries are not about keeping people out or building walls. They are about creating a space where respect, understanding, and mutual consideration can thrive. For someone with avoidant tendencies, boundaries can serve as a wake-up call. A subtle yet powerful reminder that you are not willing to sacrifice your self-respect or emotional well-being for their inconsistent behavior. When you establish and enforce boundaries, you communicate that your needs and values are non-negotiable, which can compel even the most avoidant individuals to reevaluate their actions and approach. The first step in creating boundaries is understanding what you truly need and deserve in a relationship. This requires a deep level of introspection and self-awareness. Take a step back and assess what behaviors or patterns from the avoidant individual have been causing you distress. Is it their lack of communication, their tendency to withdraw when things get intense, or perhaps their inability to prioritize the relationship? By identifying these pain points, you can establish clear and specific boundaries that address these issues. For example, you might decide that you won't tolerate silent treatment, or you won't chase them for validation when they pull away. These boundaries act as a framework for how you expect to be treated, and they help you reclaim control over your emotional space. Communicating your boundaries is a delicate but essential process. It's not about issuing ultimatums or demanding immediate change. It's about calmly and assertively expressing your expectations. Use I statements to articulate your needs without placing blame. For instance, instead of saying, "You always ignore me and it's disrespectful," you might say, "I feel hurt and unvalued when communication is inconsistent. I need more clarity and consistency to feel secure in this connection." This approach shifts the focus from accusation to self-expression, making it more likely that the avoidant person will listen and understand. Avoidant individuals often fear conflict or emotional intensity, so presenting your boundaries in a calm, non-confrontational manner can help reduce their. Once your boundaries are communicated, the next step is enforcing them. This is where many people falter, especially if they fear losing the avoidant person. However, it's crucial to understand that boundaries are meaningless if they are not upheld. If you've expressed that you won't accept being ignored for days at a time and they continue to do so, it's your responsibility to follow through with the consequences. This doesn't mean being punitive or harsh. It means standing firm in your decision and showing that you value yourself enough to not tolerate behavior that undermines your well-being. For instance, if they ignore you for an extended period, you might choose to disengage and focus on yourself instead of chasing after them. This demonstrates that your boundaries are not negotiable and that you are serious about maintaining your standards. Enforcing boundaries is not only about protecting yourself, but also about fostering growth in the other person. When avoidant individuals realize that their actions have consequences and that they can't continue to behave in a way that disregards your needs, they may begin to reflect on their behavior. This reflection can be a catalyst for change, as it forces them to confront the impact of their actions. In many cases, avoidant individuals act out of fear or insecurity, and clear boundaries can provide them with a sense of structure and accountability. By holding them to a higher standard, you encourage them to step out of their comfort zone and engage more meaningfully in the relationship. It's also important to recognize that boundaries are not about controlling the other person. They are about protecting your energy and emotional health. When you establish boundaries, you are essentially saying, "This is what I need to feel respected and valued, and I will not compromise on it." This stance is empowering, as it shifts the focus from trying to change the other person to prioritizing your own well-being. It also creates a dynamic where the avoidant person must choose whether they are willing to meet you at your level or risk losing the connection altogether. This choice often compels them to reconsider their actions, as they realize that your self-respect is not up for negotiation. Maintaining boundaries requires consistency and resilience. There may be moments when the avoidant person tests your limits, either intentionally or unconsciously. They might withdraw even further, react defensively, or attempt to push back against your boundaries. In these moments, it's crucial to stay firm and remind yourself of why you established these boundaries in the first place. Your goal is not to punish them, but to create a healthier dynamic that respects both your needs and theirs. Over time, as they see that your boundaries are unwavering, they may begin to adjust their behavior and engage with you in a more balanced and respectful manner. Another aspect of maintaining boundaries is recognizing when to walk away. If the avoidant person consistently disregards your boundaries and shows no willingness to change, it may be a sign that the relationship is not serving your highest good. Walking away is not an act of defeat. It's an act of self-love and self-preservation. It sends a powerful message that you value yourself too much to stay in a dynamic that diminishes your worth. This decision can be difficult, especially if you have strong feelings for the other person, but it is often necessary to protect your emotional well-being and open the door to healthier connections in the future. Boundaries are not static. They can evolve as you grow and as the relationship progresses. As you gain more clarity about your needs and values, you may find that certain boundaries need to be adjusted or reinforced. This process is a reflection of your ongoing commitment to self-respect and personal growth. It's a journey that requires patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to prioritize your own well-being above all else. By staying true to your boundaries, you not only protect yourself from the emotional turmoil of an inconsistent relationship, but also create the possibility for deeper, more meaningful connections. When dealing with someone with avoidant tendencies, one of the most impactful things you can do is shift the focus away from them entirely and redirect it toward yourself. This may sound counterintuitive at first because in the desire to strengthen the relationship or bring the person closer, the natural inclination is often to focus on their behavior and attempt to decode their actions. But the truth is, trying to fix or change an avoidant person often leads to frustration and disappointment. Instead, the most powerful move you can make is to step back, let go of the urge to control the outcome, and channel all your energy into your own growth, self-care, and personal fulfillment. Shifting the focus to yourself is not about playing games or manipulating the other person. It's about reclaiming your power and prioritizing your happiness. Often people in relationships with avoidant individuals end up neglecting their own needs because they are so consumed by the other person's behavior. They analyze every word, every action, and every withdrawal, hoping to find a clue that will bring clarity. This kind of hyper-focus not only drains your energy, but also places the avoidant person at the center of your emotional world. By stepping back and redirecting that energy inward, you reclaim control over your life and emotions. The first step in this process is identifying areas of your life that need attention and care. Are there hobbies you've abandoned, friendships you've neglected, or goals you've put on hold because you've been preoccupied with the relationship? Take the time to reconnect with these aspects of your life. Engaging in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment not only boosts your confidence, but also serves as a reminder that your life is rich and meaningful, regardless of the other person's actions. Whether it's pursuing a creative passion, advancing your career, or spending more time with loved ones, these pursuits help you build a life that feels whole and satisfying on its own. Focusing on yourself also means prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being. This might involve practices like journaling, meditation, or therapy to help you process your feelings and gain clarity about your needs and boundaries. It's important to acknowledge any patterns of overthinking or self-blame that may arise when dealing with an avoidant person. For example, you might find yourself questioning whether you said or did something wrong to cause their withdrawal. Recognizing these thought patterns and consciously challenging them can help you break free from the cycle of self-doubt. Remind yourself that their avoidant behavior is not a reflection of your worth, but rather a manifestation of their own fears and insecurities. Another powerful aspect of shifting the focus to yourself is cultivating a strong sense of independence. When you build a life that feels fulfilling and complete without relying on the avoidant person for validation or support, you send a clear message that your happiness is not contingent upon their presence. This doesn't mean shutting them out or becoming emotionally unavailable. It means showing that you are capable of standing on your own and thriving, regardless of the dynamics in the relationship. Independence is attractive, even to avoidant individuals, because it removes the pressure of feeling responsible for someone else's emotional state. It creates space for them to engage with you on their terms, rather than out of a sense of obligation or guilt. Physical and emotional self-care are also crucial components of this shift. Taking care of your body through exercise, healthy eating, and proper rest not only improves your overall well-being, but also boosts your confidence and energy levels. Similarly, Nurturing your emotional health by surrounding yourself with supportive people, setting boundaries, and engaging in activities that bring you joy creates a positive and uplifting environment. When you prioritize self-care, you radiate a sense of self-assurance and inner peace that can be incredibly magnetic. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean ignoring the relationship or the other person entirely. Rather, it's about creating a healthier balance. When you're not constantly seeking their attention or validation, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster that often comes with being in a relationship with an avoidant individual. This change in energy can be transformative. Avoidant people are often drawn to those who exude confidence and independence because it allows them to engage without feeling overwhelmed or smothered. By prioritizing your own growth and happiness, you naturally create an environment where they feel more comfortable approaching you. In addition, shifting your focus to yourself often leads to a natural reevaluation of the relationship. As you grow and evolve, you may find that your priorities and expectations change. You might gain clarity about what you truly want in a partner and whether the relationship aligns with your values and needs. This process of self-discovery can be empowering as it puts you in the driver's seat of your life. And when you see that contradiction, it puts you in the driver's seat of your life. Rather than waiting for the avoidant person to change or meet your expectations, you take charge of your own happiness and make decisions based on what feels right for you. This inward shift can also have a ripple effect on the relationship itself. When the avoidant person sees that you are no longer chasing them or trying to control the dynamic, they may begin to feel less defensive and more open to connection. The absence of pressure creates space for them to approach you in their own time and on their own terms. It also shifts the power dynamic in the relationship. By focusing on yourself, you stop giving them the power to dictate your emotional state. And this change can inspire them to view you in a new light. It's important to recognize that this shift is not about playing hard to get or using detachment as a strategy to win them over. It's about genuinely prioritizing your own well-being and creating a life that feels fulfilling and purposeful regardless of the relationship's outcome. This mindset shift not only empowers you, but also sets the stage for health. When you are centered and grounded in yourself, you bring a sense of calm and stability to the relationship, which can be particularly reassuring for someone with avoidant tendencies. Respecting their boundaries is crucial when dealing with someone who exhibits avoidant tendencies, as it forms the foundation for building trust and creating a safe emotional space. Avoidant individuals often develop a heightened sensitivity to emotional pressure or demands, making it imperative to tread carefully and avoid overwhelming them. Respecting their boundaries is not about walking on eggshells, but rather understanding their need for autonomy and space, which allows the relationship to unfold at a pace they find comfortable. It's about demonstrating that you value their individuality and are willing to meet them where they are, rather than forcing them to conform to your expectations. One of the most important aspects of respecting boundaries is recognizing when to give them space and honoring that need without taking it personally. Avoidant individuals often retreat when they feel emotionally overwhelmed, and while it may be tempting to chase after them or demand explanations, doing so only reinforces their desire to pull away further. Instead, it's essential to practice patience and restraint, allowing them the time and room they need to process their emotions and feel safe re-engaging. This approach requires a great deal of self-awareness and emotional maturity, as it involves resisting the urge to seek immediate reassurance or control the situation. Respecting boundaries also means being attuned to their cues and adjusting your behavior accordingly. Pay close attention to how they respond to certain topics of conversation, levels of intimacy, or expressions of emotion. For example, if you notice that they become distant or uncomfortable when discussing deeply personal matters, it may be a sign to ease off and let those conversations happen more organically over time. Similarly, if they express a need for alone time, it's important to respect that request without trying to convince them otherwise or making them feel guilty for needing space. Demonstrating that you can honor their boundaries without judgment or resentment helps build a sense of trust and security in the relationship. Another key element of respecting their boundaries is avoiding excessive emotional dependency. While it's natural to seek support and connection in a relationship, placing too much pressure on an avoidant person to meet all your emotional needs can be overwhelming for them. Instead, focus on cultivating a sense of emotional independence and seeking support from a variety of sources, such as friends, family, or a therapist. Alleviate some of the pressure on the relationship, but also demonstrates that you respect their limits and are capable of taking care of your own well-being. It's also important to communicate your own needs and boundaries in a way that is clear, calm, and non-confrontational. Avoidant individuals often struggle with conflict or perceived criticism, so framing your needs in a positive and constructive manner can help minimize defensiveness. For instance, instead of saying, "You never open up to me," you might say, "I value our connection and would love to understand more about what you're feeling when you're ready to share." This approach acknowledges their boundaries while also expressing your own desires in a way that invites collaboration rather than confrontation. Patience is another critical component of respecting boundaries. Avoidant individuals often need more time to feel comfortable opening up or deepening their level of emotional intimacy. Rushing the process or pushing them to move faster than they're ready can backfire, leading to increased withdrawal and resistance. Instead, focus on building a solid foundation of trust and consistency over time. Tanta is saying, show them through your actions that you are reliable, understanding, and supportive, and allow them to come to you at their own pace. This gradual approach not only respects their boundaries, but also fosters a deeper and more authentic connection in the long run. At the same time, it's important to avoid enabling unhealthy behaviors or sacrificing your own boundaries in the process. Respecting their need for space doesn't mean tolerating behavior that is hurtful or dismissive. For example, if they consistently disappear for long periods without communication, it's appropriate to address this in a respectful but firm manner, expressing how their actions affect you and what you need from the relationship. Striking this balance between respecting their boundaries and upholding your own ensures that the relationship remains healthy and mutually fulfilling. Respecting boundaries also involves managing your expectations and being realistic about what the relationship can offer. Avoidant individuals may never be as emotionally expressive or available as someone with a different attachment style, and it's important to accept them for who they are rather than trying to change them. This doesn't mean settling for less than you deserve, but rather understanding their limitations and deciding whether those align with your own needs and values. By approaching the relationship with realistic expectations and a willingness to adapt, you create an environment where both parties feel respected and valued. In addition, practicing empathy and compassion can go a long way in respecting boundaries and fostering a deeper understanding of their perspective. Avoidant tendencies often stem from past experiences of emotional neglect or betrayal, and recognizing this can help you approach the relationship with greater patience and sensitivity. Instead of viewing their need for space as a rejection, try to see it as a coping mechanism they've developed to protect themselves. This shift in perspective can help you respond to their behavior with kindness and understanding rather than frustration or resentment. Respecting boundaries also requires consistent self-reflection and self-regulation. It's natural to feel hurt or frustrated when someone pulls away, but it's important to manage those emotions in a healthy way rather than projecting them onto the other person. Taking the time to process your feelings, practice self-care, and seek support can help you maintain a sense of balance and stability in the relationship. This not only benefits you, but also creates a more supportive and nurturing environment for the avoidant person to feel safe and secure. Through these efforts, you demonstrate that you value and respect their individuality, creating a relationship dynamic that is built on mutual understanding, trust, and respect. Demonstrating emotional stability and self-control is essential when dealing with an avoidant individual, as it sets the tone for the relationship and creates a safe space for them to engage without fear of emotional overwhelm. Avoidant individuals are often hyper-aware of their emotional intensity, which can trigger their inclination to retreat. By maintaining a calm and composed demeanor, you show them that you are a reliable and grounded presence, capable of handling the dynamics of the relationship without adding pressure or volatility. Emotional stability begins with self-awareness. Understanding your own triggers, patterns, and emotional responses allows you to approach the relationship from a place of balance. When an avoidant individual withdraws or resists emotional closeness, it's natural to feel hurt or frustrated. However, allowing those emotions to dictate your actions, whether through angry outbursts, excessive reassurance seeking, or withdrawing yourself, can exacerbate the situation and reinforce their fears. Instead, it's crucial to recognize these emotional reactions, process them internally, and respond in a measured and thoughtful manner. This shows the avoidant individual that you are not only in control of your emotions, but also considerate of theirs. Practicing self-regulation is another key component of emotional stability. Self-regulation involves managing your emotions in a way that doesn't rely on external validation or immediate resolution. For example, if the avoidant person becomes distant, rather than bombarding them with questions or demands for explanation, take a step back and focus on calming your own emotional state. Engage in activities that bring you peace and clarity, whether it's journaling, meditating, exercising, or spending time with supportive friends. By managing your emotional responses independently, you demonstrate resilience and avoid creating a cycle of emotional dependency that could overwhelm the avoidant individual. Consistency is also vital in showing emotional stability. Avoidant individuals are often wary of unpredictability in relationships, as it can remind them of past experiences where emotional volatility caused harm. By consistently showing up as a steady and dependable presence, you help to alleviate their fears and build trust over time. This consistency applies to your actions, words, and reactions. If you say you'll give them space, follow through. If you promise to respect their boundaries, honor that commitment, even when it feels challenging. This reliability reinforces the idea that they can rely on you without the risk of being overwhelmed or emotionally manipulated. One of the most powerful ways to demonstrate self-control is through active listening. Avoidant individuals often struggle to express their emotions or needs directly, and creating an environment where they feel heard without judgment is crucial. Active listening requires putting aside your own emotional reactions and focusing entirely on what they are saying. Resist the urge to interrupt, offer unsolicited advice, or react defensively. Instead, acknowledge their perspective and validate their feelings, even if you don't fully understand or agree with them. This level of emotional maturity shows them that you are capable of handling difficult conversations without escalating tension. Patience plays a significant role in demonstrating emotional stability and self-control. Avoidant individuals often take longer to open up or feel comfortable in a relationship, and pushing them to meet your timeline can backfire. Instead, approach the relationship with a mindset of patience and long-term commitment. Understand that progress may be slow and that setbacks are a natural part of the process. By remaining calm and supportive during these moments, you show them that you are not easily discouraged or swayed by temporary challenges, reinforcing their sense of security in the relationship. Another critical aspect of emotional stability is avoiding reactive behavior. Avoidant individuals often anticipate negative reactions to their actions or withdrawal, and confirming those expectations can deepen their fears and avoidance. For example, if they pull away or cancel plans, responding with anger, guilt-tripping, or passive-aggressive comments only serves to validate their belief that emotional closeness leads to conflict. Instead, practice responding with understanding and composure. A simple acknowledgement of their needs, paired with reassurance that you're still there for them, can go a long way in easing their fears and encouraging future engagement. Maintaining a positive and solution-frame mindset is another way to exhibit emotional stability. Avoidant individuals may struggle with seeing the potential for growth in a relationship, especially if past experiences have conditioned them to expect disappointment. By focusing on the strengths of the relationship and approaching challenges with a problem-solving attitude, you help to counteract their pessimism and demonstrate that difficulties can be addressed without emotional drama. This perspective requires a strong sense of self-control, as it involves setting aside your own frustrations and prioritizing the long-term health of the relationship. Boundary setting is another important element of emotional stability. While it's crucial to respect the avoidant individual's boundaries, it's equally important to establish and uphold your own. This demonstrates that you are confident and secure enough to advocate for your needs without resorting to manipulation or emotional coercion. For example, if their avoidance behaviors begin to take a toll on your emotional well-being, calmly communicate how their actions are affecting you and what you need to feel supported in the relationship. Doing so in a respectful and composed manner reinforces the idea that you are capable of navigating emotional challenges without losing control. Finally, cultivating a sense of inner peace and self-assurance allows you to approach the relationship from a place of abundance rather than neediness. Avoidant individuals often feel pressured when they sense that someone is relying on them for emotional fulfillment, and this pressure can drive them further away. By cultivating your own sense of happiness and self-worth, you not only relieve them of this burden, but also model the kind of emotional independence that can inspire them to engage more fully. This self-assurance radiates as confidence and stability, making you a calming and reassuring presence in their lives.